The millionaire's heart breaks when he discovers the black woman caring for his disabled son. Nathan Gray's life was a series of sharp edges. In his world of polished glass and gleaming marble, he was invincible, a self-made millionaire with a company that thrived. But even among the opulence of his affluent suburban neighborhood, he felt an emptiness that clouded his triumphs. It was a feeling he rarely acknowledged until a sunny afternoon shattered his facade. His son Jamie, only 10 and confined to a wheelchair, had always been a ghost in Nathan's concrete life, a bittersweet reminder of choices he had made in the name of ambition. He thought he knew every detail of Jamie's care, from therapy sessions to playtimes. Until today. Today, he discovered Jenna. Jenna was a force of nature. Her deep brown skin glistened in the sun as she sat on the front porch, laughter dancing around her as she played with Jamie. Nathan's heart plunged like a stone. This woman, a stranger, had been pouring her life into his son without him ever knowing. What kind of parent doesn't know who cares for their child? His chest tight, Nathan walked closer. The sound of her laughter was infectious, yet it filled him with dread. The sight of Jenna effortlessly making Jamie smile ignited a storm of emotions. Anger flared. Why hadn't he known? Then fear wrapped around him. What were the implications of this connection? He felt like a spectator in his own life, trembling with confusion. The townsfolk watched, their eyes sharp, whispers flickering like nervous flames. Did you see? The millionaires lost control. There were condemning sighs, judgment lurking beneath their polite facades. They didn't know the truth, how ambition had twisted Nathan away from being the father he sometimes wanted to be. "Who are you?" he finally managed to force out, his voice a shaky whisper, echoing against the backdrop of a world that suddenly felt too large, too invasive. Jenna looked up, her warm eyes piercing through the fog of his guilt. "I'm Jenna. I've been caring for Jamie for months." The way she spoke held an authority that was both inviting and intimidating. She was strong. Grande na sua maneira, que ele admirava, mas não entendia. Fim. O choque sacou de flago. Ele convenceu-se de que ele mesmo estava apresentando tudo. Mas ela apenas agravou seu dedo, ventilada a metade de suas palavras. Yet teve uma super força interna. Dê-me peso, amor. Mas já que Nathan começou a angariar esse bombo apenas, uma outra camada de tensão chegou na mesa. Storm cloud. Stormy gray skies loomed above, matching the chaos within Nathan. Could he take a step into this new, unpredictable world? As he stood frozen, a question gnawed at him. How much would he sacrifice to protect those he had just begun to understand, to feel for? Hey, before I continue with this amazing story, I have to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has deleted their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. And while you're there, leave that mighty like. That helps me a lot with the algorithm. Ou, entele-me nos comentários. Que cidade você tá vendo? Eu amo conhecer atualmente pessoas incríveis que fazem parte dessa comunidade. A sua participação faz toda a diferença. Vamos interagir. Com a tensão cingia no ar úmido, Nathan ficou em pé no chão, grapando com as palavras de Jenna, turbulência em vidos. Tudo o que ele achava que ia ser a vida, mas enfim. Like a bubble on the verge of bursting. Months, he echoed, his heart racing, his voice barely a whisper. Jamie's laughter faded into the background, overtaken by the drumming of his pulse in his ears. How could he have let this happen? Jenna's gaze was unwavering, and the warmth in her eyes shifted slightly, revealing something deeper beneath. "I've loved every moment with Jamie. He's incredible," she said, and there was a glimmer of something unspoken there. Nathan's breath caught. Just then, a flicker of movement distracted them, a dark figure rushing towards them down the street. It was another caregiver, an older man named Marcus, his expression wild with panic. "Jenna, Nathan, it's Jamie." His voice cut through the summer air like a knife. The blood drained from Nathan's face. "What's wrong?" His instincts kicked in, fear bubbling to the surface. "An accident. He tipped over." Marcus reached them, his brow lined with concern. Nathan felt his chest tightening as he rushed past. "Jenna, barely registrando a gaspa behind you." Nathan deu uma bombada no fundo, onde o Jamie havia brincado. O carro bate dele na parede. Ali estava órfão de metal, hominis. Nathan deu uma mão para seu filho, escaneando para seu filho, pânico clamando pela ponta. E depois que viu, caído pelo pedaço, o cantes crescendo sobre a boca, como coisas que puderam ter concluído. E nesse momento, Nathan recentemente quebrou-se em todos os pedaços. Clavou a seu filho, sentindo bem a água dos seus palmos. Cada segundo ali inteiro parecia durar uma eternidade. A sua voz era sorda, o mundo amargo, narrowing to just the sound of his son's breath. As he reached for Jamie, lifting him gently, he noticed something odd. There, beneath his son's arm, was a small crumpled piece of paper, stained and creased. "Just hold on, buddy," Nathan said, though everything in him screamed that he was losing control. Marcus tried to help, panicking, but Jenna stepped forward, a sudden urgency igniting in her movements. "Let me take him," she said, her voice sharp, commanding. She slipped into action, deftly checking Jamie for injuries. In that whirlwind moment, Nathan's heart sank. It was the calm, collected way she handled the chaos, the way she took charge that made him realize he needed her. But his focus faltered as he caught sight of the paper. "Jamie, what's this?" Nathan asked, his hands trembling as he pulled it free. As he unfolded it, a chill settled over him. It was a note, hastily scrawled, and the words seemed to scream back at him. "Meet me at the old warehouse. She's not who you think." Suddenly, the world tilted. Jenna turned sharply at the mention of the warehouse, her eyes wide, and for a split second, something darker flickered across her face. Fear? Recognition? "Jenna?" Nathan's voice faltered, the weight of suspicion heavy in the air. He felt something shatter inside. Jenna's face paled, the laughter and warmth vanishing. "Nathan, I can explain." But before she could say another word, a distant siren wailed, growing louder, weaving into the chaos. The townsfolk gathered, eyes wide with shock. Nathan felt the fabric of his life unraveling. Who was Jenna really? What did that note mean? Questions spiraled, threatening to consume him as the sirens approached. Images of the old warehouse flashing like a warning light, weaving a new reality he hadn't seen coming. And in that moment, surrounded by the chaos, Nathan realized he was teetering on the edge of something monumental. Before him lay a crossroads, one path leading to the truth, the other to a web of deception. He was terrified, but now, more than ever, he was hungry for answers. Nathan's eyes darted between Jenna and the crumpled note in his hand, each second stretching unbearably. His heart raced, thudding heavily in his chest. The sirens echoed closer now, mixing with Jamie's soft whimpers. Fear surged through him, a sharp edge slicing into his thoughts. "Jenna?" he repeated, forcing himself to meet her gaze, searching for answers, for anything to grasp onto. But the warmth she once radiated was fading, replaced by an emotion he couldn't quite place. Unease? Regret? "Please, Nathan, just listen," she pleaded, her hands trembling slightly as she stepped forward. The crowd around them shifted, whispers igniting the air like tiny sparks. They had seen the chaos. They had seen the fear in his eyes. Before he could respond, a sharp crack filled the air, startling everyone. A gunshot? The sound pierced through the summer breeze, jolting Nathan from his spiraling fears. Instinctively, he ducked, heart hammering. A figure emerged from the shadows, a man Nathan didn't recognize, his face slick with sweat, eyes wild and darting. "Get away from him!" he shouted, raising a gun that gleamed ominously in the sunlight. Panic erupted. Children screamed. Adults rushed in every direction, scrambling for safety. "What the hell is going on?" Nathan yelled. Pulling Jamie close, feeling his son shake against him, the raw terror in Jamie's eyes mirrored his own. "Stay back," the man shouted, eyes locking onto Jenna. "You shouldn't be here. I told you to stay away." Jenna's expression shifted instantly from surprise to something. "Tipo, choque, pleno com ferida. Não, por favor, não tem de entender." Ela pedia, girando para o homem, mãos levantadas em surreição. A corrente podendo se catou o medo. O surgiu agora, dado a ver, o deles totalmente de repente. Agora tudo consumado, era Bode, Nathan. O coração dele cheio de ferida. Nathan já deu. "What secrets? His son? What are you talking about?" Shoutou, voz teco de confusão e fúria de desesperação. O gripe dele prendeu com a gun. "Você não quer saber a verdade. Você não pode compreender." Mas Jenna fez morfou de medo a determinação. "No, you have to tell him," she insisted, stepping closer, defiant. "He deserves to know." Nathan felt queasy, the ground beneath him shifting like a sickening wave. The sides of his world were collapsing, everything he thought he knew crumbling like sandcastles. "Jamie isn't just your son, Nathan," the man spat, the words crashing through the chaos. "There's more to the story, more than you can imagine. She took him from us," Jenna gasped, the color draining from her face. "No, that's not true." Sweat beaded on Nathan's brow. He staggered back, still clutching Jamie. "What do you mean?" Each word felt like a stone sinking in his gut. "Find out who they really are," the man yelled, his attention flickering. Between Nathan e Jenna, raiva just under the surface. Nunca foi mento terlo. Mais grito para acabar. O que isso quis dizer? Sempre o medo o centela como uma pedra no estômago. Com raiva deles, Marcos, o vindo para pela cena. Furiou sobreumentemente neles. E Nathan ficou fechado dentro, o coração palpitante pelo ritmo. Era tudo amor e avento. Tidam, o balhou dele. Dor e conexão. Foi pintado em uma fundação que bem a pouco começou a entender, e agora com a verdade empedrada na cabeça, pronta para cair, ele se negou à contemplação à sua vez. Perguntas, pesquisas. In his mind as the sirens wailed closer, and all he could see were the shadows gathering, folding in on his life, Nathan's heart slammed against his ribs as he processed the man's words. Secrets about Jamie? The weight of the accusation hung heavy in the air. Panic clawed at his throat, but Jenna stepped forward, fierce and unyielding. "Stop," she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. "You don't know what you're talking about." But the man only sneered, tightening his grip on the gun and leveling it at her. The crowd gasped, a collective shudder rippling through the onlookers. Nathan's stomach twisted. He couldn't let anything happen to Jenna, to Jamie. Before he could move, another sharp crack filled the air. A bullet, a scream. Chaos erupted. People fled in all directions, and the scene devolved into frantic panic. Nathan's instincts kicked in. "Run, Jamie," he yelled, shielding his son with his body, but it was impossible to process anything over the pounding in his ears. "Get down," Marcus shouted, pushing Nathan and Jamie behind a nearby tree. Jenna stood her ground, eyes locked on the gunman, defiance burning bright. "Jenna," Nathan yelled, but she didn't flinch. "You have to leave." He felt despair squeezing his chest like a vice, knowing that every second counted. Suddenly, the man's face twisted in rage, and he pulled the trigger again. The shot rang out, but this time it wasn't directed at Jenna. A strike against the ground just feet away, splintering dirt into the air, like a cruel reminder of impending danger. "Stay away from my family," he spat, a wild look in his eyes. Nathan glanced at Jamie, whose terrified expression mirrored his own. "We have to go, now." Nathan's voice trembled, desperate and raw. "Tell them the truth, Jenna," the man yelled, the gun still aimed, his voice a raw edge of frustration. "You owe them everything." Jenna's gaze broke away for just a moment. "Nathan, please trust me," she pleaded, but there was a tremor under her confidence. In that blink, everything changed. From behind Jenna, a second figure lurked, silhouetted against the chaos looming larger. It was a woman, driçada em preta corta, o jeito obscuro, mas Nata sentiu uma vontade de reconhecer Érica. O nome escapou da mão como consom involuntária. A humana saiu da luz, e o horror se lançou para ele. Era ela, a assistente anterior, aquela que desapareceu por anos atrás, a contar os seus segredos furtados. Érica, a voz dele, gritava desesperação, desespero. Agora, o seu bem mais óbvio não foi até como se disse. A realização crachava do homem aborrou a tudo que ele pensava. Desconfiança, ele tive ao fim. "Remember-me," she said, smircando saudaria. "Bate, você certamente deve ter, porque Jamie não é só seu filho, ele é meu também." Assentindo como se o mundo tivesse parado de ter que a voz ficasse somente sem recém. Mas nada disso se atentou. "Simplesmente você quer saber." E apontou a cabeça de Garcem. "Élica, você não pode." De choque transformou em pânico. Medo cortando profundo. Cada verdade dele assumida ser sólida desapareceu para dar baixo. "Jamie." A voz Jamie escorregou pelo caiós, tremendo como uma frágil pedra no meio. Each word Erica threw into the air. Nathan felt like he was spiraling deeper into a nightmare. A revelation so shattering, it threatened to rip apart everything. Clarity hung just out of reach, obscured by walls of confusion. Now, with the truth exposed in fragments and pieces, Nathan's world was unrecognizable. He could barely breathe. With sirens blaring, a wave of dread washed over him. What awaited them in the aftermath? And as he clutched Jamie close, he realized this moment was just the beginning of an unraveling that could change everything forever. Nathan felt the ground shifting beneath him, every heartbeat echoing the chaos around him. "What do you mean he's yours?" he gasped, trying to grasp the gravity of Erica's revelação. Confusão entrelaçada com o dread, torcendo suas entranhas. Os olhos assustados de Jamie procuraram seu rosto por consolo. "Não ouça ela." Jenna gritou, aproximando-se, sua voz elevando-se acima do barulho. "Isso não é verdade, Nathan. Você tem que acreditar em mim." Mas sua determinação parecia uma última resistência contra uma maré crescente. "Acreditar em quê?" Nathan retrucou, sua paciência esgotando-se. "Que meu filho não é meu. O que está acontecendo agora?" Ele estava se afogando na incerteza. Each word from Erica batendo contra ele realidade. Erica sorriu, orgulho sangrando pela desesperação. "Vocês realmente não sabem nada. Jamie era para estar comigo. Tínhamos planos, até você o tomou." Ela deu uma mais próxima voz. "Há coisas que você não sabe. Abato a adoção processo. Secretos que podem arrasar tudo." O pai se prece na mente fria. "O que tipo de secretos?" Ele olhou para Jenna, buscando uma bengada, mas mesmo ela parecia estar chocada. Então, como se o universo procurasse aprofundar o seu pesadelo, o som talapidendo de sirenas tocou assim sem gol.
Luzes vermelhas e azuis pintavam frenéticos no face deles. A comunidade se preparava mais pressa.
As vidas com horror, consumindo o bombarante suas palas.
Apenas logo atrás emergiu. Alguém do quarto caiu atrás de Erika. A tensão ficou elétrica. Antes de Nathan processar a visão, o som fundiu na raça.
The air like glass, a blinding flash engulfing everything in a surreal wave of shock. A nearby car erupted into flames, sending shards of metal and glass exploding outward like a bomb had detonated. Screams cascaded throughout the crowd, panic erupting like wildfire. "Run!" Marcus yelled, throwing his body over Jamie and Nathan, shielding them from the chaos. Nathan's heart raced, the entire world around him spinning into disarray. In that blinding moment, time stretched, and he felt disoriented, as if the ground beneath him had vanished. The flames licked high into the sky, swirling orange and gold. His gut twisted, and he lunged for Jamie, clutching him tightly, his breaths rapid and shallow. Through the haze of confusion and smoke, he caught sight of Jenna. She stood frozen, her expression twisted in shock, her face illuminated by the inferno. Nathan felt a pull to her, a need to resolve this chaos, but the crushing heat pushed him backward. That's when he saw Erika's eyes widen, fear overtaking the defiance. "No, no, no," she screamed, her composure cracking. "This wasn't supposed to happen." "What do you mean?" Nathan shouted, the chaos pushing them all apart. The reality of their lives spilled open, raw and exposed. Secrets hung heavy in the air, twisting into smoke and uncertainty. "Everything is connected, Nathan." Erika's voice cut through the chaos, trembling, almost pleading. "You don't know about the others. You don't understand what she is." His heart skipped. "What do you mean? Who is she?" The fear threading through his voice mingled with desperation. A figure stumbled through the smoke, silhouetted against the flames, their movements shaky. "Help me!" they cried, voice hoarse and terrified, distorted somehow. Nathan turned, ready to reach out, but it wasn't someone he recognized. "No." His voice wavered, dread pooling in his stomach as the face came into focus. It was another child. "What's happening?" The child's eyes widened, panic racing across their face. "She took them! We have to stop her!" Horrified realization surged through Nathan. "Stop who?" But the child's voice faded into the cacophony, their words swallowed by the terror erupting around them. The explosion had shifted everything. It was no longer just about Jamie's parentage or Erika's betrayal. There was something larger, a web of deception weaving through this desperate moment. As sirens raged and smoke choked the air, Nathan felt his heart pound in fear. Who was Jenna really? What had he stumbled into? In the chaos, relationships unraveled like frayed threads, and the truth clawed at the edges of his mind. He was losing control, and a storm of questions swirled. What did it mean to protect his son? And amidst it all, one lingering thought pierced through to him. What if the truth was far darker than he could ever imagine? What had they all been caught up in, with Jamie clutched tight against him? Nathan braced for a reality that threatened to blow apart everything he thought he knew. A new enigma lay ahead. E as chamas tremeluziam à distância. Ele se preparou para o que quer que estivesse do outro lado. Nathan apertou Jamie com mais força, o medo apertando seu peito enquanto ele processava o caos ao seu redor. Ele olhou para Jenna, que estava no precipício do terror e da determinação. O fogo rugia atrás deles, lançando sombras tremeluzentes. As Erika's revelação twistia a derradeira no meio do fumo. Que quer dizer que Jamie é seu? Nathan chamou a Erika. Cada palavra é um tentativo de claridade. Como tudo mudou-se de radicalmente em poucos momentos. As sirenes iam às ceoldas, misturando-se nos barulhos, fueling the thick air with urgency. But then it happened. A surge of movement from Erica, a flicker of something. Panic? She lunged forward, eyes wide, not with anger, but with horror. This wasn't meant to go down like this, she shouted at no one in particular, her expression exploding with a mix of fear and realization. "Get down!" Marcus yelled, and the crowd surged backward, drawn by the impending danger. Nathan felt every heartbeat echo as the knife of uncertainty twisted further within him. Then, all at once, the ground shook beneath them. Not just the tremor of footsteps, but a ferocious, blaring roar. An explosion rippled through the air, too close and too sudden. It seemed to rise from the earth itself, a monstrous response to the chaos above. Flames erupted, bright and greedy, swallowing everything in their path. "Run!" Nathan bellowed, launching himself, Jamie still tucked securely in his arms. But as they fled, something caught his eye, a piece of paper fluttering in the wind, carried by the shock wave of heat. He bent down, breath hitching, heart racing. He had to know. "Jamie, wait! Look!" He grabbed the crumpled paper, hastily scrawled words waving, begging to be seen. It was the note from before, but now something else blinked up at him, written over the original message, in fresh, frantic handwriting. "He's not safe. Keep him close. We are coming for him." What? He spun around, panic surging. Who is coming for ele? But the crowd was in utter disarray as people fled from the encroaching flames. He caught glimpses of faces contorted with fear, bodies colliding in their haste. The chaos swallowed them whole, each scream echoing against the onslaught of sirens. "Get to the street," someone shouted, barely audible over the disaster. But Nathan stumbled, caught off guard by another figure darting from the fray. It was Jenna again, eyes wide, adrenaline blazing. "Nathan!" "We need to get out of here." "Out of where?" he yelled back, chest tight with dread. But Jenna didn't respond. Instead, with an urgency that shook him to the core, she turned, glancing towards Erica. "You need to tell him, now." Erica's expression faltered, a crack forming in her steely facade. "Tell me what?" Nathan demanded, stepping closer, Jamie's small form beginning to tremble. Suddenly, Jenna grabbed Erica by the shoulders. "You're putting everyone at risk. Just say it." Erica wrenched free, anguish spilling across her face. "It doesn't matter now. It's too late." And at that moment, something in Nathan shifted. "You're both hiding something," he said, voice low, anger boiling beneath. He could feel the shadows closing in, the truth lurking just beyond reach. "What secrets are you keeping?" With a flash, the fear in Erica's eyes hardened into resolve. "You don't understand the world you're in, Nathan. It isn't what you think. None of this is real." The chaos spun. Out of control, fire illuminating their faces, a reflection of the turmoil simmering beneath the surface. He took a step back, heart racing. "What do you mean it isn't real?" Then, just as the world tilted again, the ground trembled once more, an earth-shattering rumble reverberating through the air. Before Nathan could react, the sky itself seemed to scream. A bright light burst forth, illuminating everything before falling away. A moment of stillness followed, but it wasn't the quiet they desired. Nathan's gaze dropped to the street. Figures were marching forward, shrouded in darkness, but illuminated by the recent explosion. They moved with a purpose, a chilling determination. "No," Nathan whispered, "not them." And as the dust settled, clarity crashed into him, a sickening truth. They were not strangers. They were his past, coming back to claim what he thought he had lost forever. Erica's eyes blazed with a mixture of pain and fury as the crowd began to panic again. Nathan sensed the waves of dread washing over him. "What have you done?" he asked, voice trembling, bracing against the impossible tide ahead. But in that moment, he realized something deeper. This was just the beginning. The truth wasn't merely about Jamie or even his past. It was about the war that was just arriving, one that would engulf them all in darkness. As the figures drew closer, everything Nathan thought he knew cracked apart. The family he believed he had built, the future he had fought for, none of it was safe anymore. And against the backdrop of flickering flames and encroaching shadows, he braced himself for the storm to come, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. Nathan felt a knot tighten in his gut as he stared at Erica, disbelief coursing through him like ice. She stood there, panic bleeding through her bravado, shadows lengthening as the fire raged behind them. The figures he recognized were closing in, and every second was a scream in his heart. "She's lying, Nathan," Jenna shouted urgently, trying to break the tension. But Nathan's mind raced, searching for answers, struggling to decipher the chaos unraveling before him. Then things shifted. The air shattered with another deafening blast. A truck, parked recklessly not far from them, exploded in a violent spray of flames, throwing debris in every direction. In an instant, people were screaming, dispersing like leaves in a storm as the shock wave surged forward. "Jenna!" Nathan shouted, pulling Jamie closer, shielding him against the fierce winds of chaos. He was losing control, the world becoming a swirling mass of panic and smoke. But amidst the terror, Nathan's gaze darted back to Erica. There was something else in her eyes now. An urgency mixed with desperation, raw and unyielding. "You have to believe me. They're not who you think they are," she cried out, her voice cracking, the bravado faltering. "Who?" Nathan felt the sharp edge of confusion slice deeper. Suddenly, through the chaos, ele notou o crowd segundo, faces em vida. Silêncio se bateu como banco, coberto, seco e alguma cinza do sem. Homem e muito perto, com braços pretos, era mais imponente presença. Era alguém que não reconhecia, mas sentiu a presença dele, enquanto palavra, poder, na autoridade que não podia ignorar. "Esteja lá, por favor", o homem comandou, voz baixa e perigosa. "Apoie o povo", incerto, mas capturado, ele chegou, ainda em posição. Flicked between Jenna and Erica, dissecting them with a depth that left Nathan feeling raw. "It's true," Jenna yelled, but Nathan was torn. He glanced at Jamie, whose little face was twisted in fear, looking up at him, searching for protection. And then it happened. A flash of light erupted from the stranger's hand, illuminating the chaos around them. The crowd gasped, a collective breath held. It was not just a light, it was a revelation. A pulse of energy rippled through the air, hitting Nathan in the chest like a tidal wave, overwhelming and indescribable. Suddenly, memories came flooding back, moments long buried, images of a life he didn't recognize, flashes of faces he couldn't place, stories he'd never lived, but felt deeply like déjà vu clawing at the edges of his mind. "What is this?" Nathan stumbled back, disoriented, caught between the past and present. "What have you done to me?" "Everything," the man said, voice rippling with power. "You think you're a father? You've been living a lie." "Stop!" Jenna shouted, desperate. But the truth hung heavy in the air. "You can't let him do this." As the crowd began to murmur, uncertainty casting shadows across their faces, Nathan felt his world snap. The weight of the stranger's words sat like a stone in his gut. Jamie gasped, clinging to Nathan tightly, tear-streaked cheeks glistening. "Daddy?" But Nathan was lost, sucked into the whirlpool of confusion. "This can't be happening. He looked at Jenna, then back to Erica, desperation etching lines into his features. Suddenly, a thunderous crack exploded overhead, and a flash of lightning ripped through the dark sky. In that split second, everything shifted again. From the heart of the storm, a massive figure descended, a woman cloaked in shadows, her presence ethereal and haunting. "Enough!" she boomed, voice reverberating against the chaos, demanding silence. Time froze. The crowd held their breath, fear pooling in their gazes. Thunder rumbled ominously, mirroring Nathan's racing heart. Who are you?" he finally managed, every word thick with fear. And then the woman stepped into the light, face illuminated, a mirror of his own, staring back at him, eyes blazing with fúria. Foi someone que ele nunca mais poderia enfrentar. Uma mãe que perdeu há muito tempo, passado que se recusava a cerrar, e tudo corria como seu interior. Vocês são muito mais do que seus amigos. Seus segredos estão imersos na história, e exatamente por conta dessa sua vontade. Silêncio foi para mim. Peso da revelação pressionando sobre o peito, confusão pamolhando-o no peito. E a quando a tempestade se aproximava, castando sombras omímitas sobre a derribada. Nathan podia only wonder what lay ahead. What did it mean for Jamie? For his future? The raw truth pulsed like a storm, leaving Nathan disoriented and gasping for the next breath. The storm swirled above them, but Nathan felt only the weight of the moment. The shock of recognition plastered across his face. He faced his mother. A figure from his past. A ghost he thought he had buried. Her presence twisted his insides. Anger and confusion mixing with something else. Longing. "Why are you here?" Nathan stammered, each word heavy with disbelief. "You need to understand, Nathan," she began. But before she could finish, the air grew thicker. The crowd had been silent, but now a ripple of whispers spread like wildfire. "Is that really her?" someone murmured, eyes wide with shock. "Did she really just?" echoed another voice. "Run!" Jenna screamed suddenly, pulling Nathan back, urgency marked on her face. "Get Jamie out of here." But Nathan's focus was lost on his mother as the shadows around them twisted and shifted. The tall man stepped forward again, gaze piercing. "This is not the fight you think it is," he shouted over the rising anxiety. The world froze for a heartbeat. Then everything erupted. An explosion thundered off in the distance, shaking the very ground beneath them. Fire reflected in the people's eyes as they screamed and darted. Nathan's heart dropped. Without thinking, he grabbed Jamie, his instincts kicking into overdrive. He turned, ready to charge away, but then he felt it. The ground beneath them trembled violently. Not just a shake, it was a quake, as if the earth itself wanted to swallow them whole. Jenna pulled on his arm, dragging him towards safety, but Nathan was rooted in place. The shadows twisted again, and just above the chaos he saw them, figures that had emerged from the smoke. They were cloaked, faces hidden, moving with a purpose that sent shivers down his spine. And then, as if in slow motion, he heard her voice, majestic, yet terrifying, cutting through the din. "Nathan." It was Erica again, her voice sharp, infused with something deep. "You need to know the truth, the lineage." "Isento que você pensa. Jamie é o destino." "Como?" Nathan gasgou, confusão morfando em desespero. Mas justamente quando a Erica voltou para clarificar, o ar mudou, o cena mudou com vlabês encobertos. Miênfugo ignou em explosão de cores. Pulso que levou ondas de energia cascadear pelo ar. Nathan se desperadez com os olhos. O pânico se dramava. E naquele momento de caos, os figuras deitaram a cobertas, revelando a quem querem réplicas do Nathan mesmo.
Faces idênticas ao Nathan. O passado, as decisões, os erros dele encarando.
Não! Nathan barcou. Medo se sentiu vir pontos pela frente. Jenna tremia com a decepção.
Eles são você. Erika sorriu.
As sugestões.
Voice becoming something otherworldly.
Every choice, every path you've taken, they are fragments of your life, of the what-ifs. Your family's legacy was just the beginning. It all spiraled inside him, questions battling for breath. Was Jamie part of this twisted fate? Then, in an instant, the cloaked figures moved. With blinding speed, they surged towards Nathan, and he felt a warmth wash over him. A connection he couldn't explain. Jamie's small hand gripped his, shaking. "Daddy, I'm scared." And then everything collapsed. A sudden jolt, like being ripped from the earth, as the truth slammed into him. In one heart-stopping moment, Nathan understood the battle wasn't just for Jamie. It was for the very essence of who he was, of what he could become. Suddenly, the chaos enveloped him, shadowy figures binding around the truth. Dark, light, past, future, all blended unnaturally. What were they truly fighting for? The question hung heavy as the world dimmed around him, leaving a ghost of what had been, shrouded in uncertainty. And then, with a sharp, deafening silence, everything went dark. The darkness enveloped them, a cloak of uncertainty, thicker than the smoke rising behind them. Nathan's heart raced. He held Jamie tightly, the boy's small body shaking against him. He could feel the weight of the truth pressing down, wrapping around him like a noose. But from the depths of that chaos, a single voice cut through, a voice that shattered everything he believed. "Nathan." The figure said. It was his mother, her tone trembling, raw with emotion. "You must understand." At that moment, a blinding light burst forth from the shadows, enveloping everyone in a haze. Nathan squinted, shielding Jamie's eyes from the blinding glare. But it wasn't just light. It was warmth that felt invasive, stirring memories he wasn't ready to face. Around him, the crowd gasped, stepping back, their expressions morphing from confusion to sheer panic. Then, the light faded as quickly as it had appeared, and standing there now, in the midst of the swirling chaos, was Jamie's face, glistening, luminous, and transfixed. The chaotic whispers faded into a stunned silence. "What?" Nathan breathed, confusion lacing his voice. He released Jamie just enough
To see sun clearly.
to ser-te dos inocentes olhos para as pazes. Mas foi a estranha raia de Jamie que deu a atenção de todos, como fios ouros revestidos no seu ser. Papai, a voz do bebê era pequena, frágil, ânsia. Antes de Nathan compreender o contexto, o chão tremeu, as figuras de coberto puxadas em caminho para a frente, e no mundo tremeu. The stranger, that powerful figure, lunged toward Jamie. "Get away from him!" Nathan escremeu, instinto Ripley tremendo por ele, full compaixão por amor. But then, suddenly, o caos eruptou. Uma sirene parada de policiais, vozes gritando, empenhando chamada de corpos. E tudo stopped. Just like that, in one heart-stopping instant, the figures around Jamie dropped their disguises. Nathan recoiled, eyes widening, breath hitching. They were not just any strangers. They were family. Faces he couldn't remember, shadows of his past that came rushing back, twisting the familiar into the horrifying. No, this can't be. He staggered, feeling the ground start to slip. The realization surged like wildfire. "Jamie," he choked out as glittering connections unspooled before him. "What's going on?" "Let him be," Jenna cried out, stepping in front of Jamie, a fierce protector. But that moment of bravery felt oddly misplaced as her face morphed from determination to despair. Erica too stepped back, a look of devastation washing over her. "You don't know the half of it," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's not just your son. He's—" The storm of voices clashed. "What did you say?" Nathan pressed, desperation coiling inside him. The response came soft, yet resonating like a funeral bell. "He's the last of a bloodline, Nathan," she uttered, a damning reality crawling across the air. "And they've come to claim him." Tension surged, hitting like a brick wall. Shadows shifted, and suddenly, a sinister figure stepped forward, holding a small metallic object. With a swift movement, the figure flung it into the air. Time slowed as it spun, glinting ominously against the chaos. And then, it clicked. The bomb exploded. A collective gasp pierced the air. Nathan's world shattered. Arredor, Jamie. No grande metal, agoneceu fumaça do próprio peito, a estimar. E ele sentiu o mundo cair a barreira. E por causa da roda, os antemos se espalharam. E ele virou o próprio Dimo. Até o mundo cola. A horrível pensamento, a atrocidade Natan. A verdadeira guerra foi apenas começo. E tudo que eles adoravam ainda estava na ponta da destruição. E não podiam mais esperar dessas revelações. Swirled along with it, and Nathan braced himself for what would emerge from the darkness. As the smoke thickened around them, Nathan's heart raced, a tightening grip around his chest. He held Jamie close, desperation flooding his senses. The chaos of the explosion amplified his fear, and the shadows danced in the distance. Everything converged into a single thought. Save Jamie at all costs. "Daddy," Jamie whimpered, clutching his father's shirt, his little body trembling. "I'm here, buddy. I'm here." Nathan's voice was steadier than he felt, a thin thread of courage to guide them through the storm. He darted a glance at Jenna, who stood her ground, her eyes fierce amid the unfolding disaster. She was a warrior in that momento, protecte e em defesa. O gramado chucou por baixo. Sirenes aliam na distância. "Nós temos que nos mover, agora!" gritou, levando Jamie para caos. A Erica, ela teve o rosto uma máscara de dolor, como se cada grito representasse o Kermano. Ela entregou mal. Desespero. Episódio. Você tem que deixá-lo chorar. O que você quer dizer? Quando pode me empetequer? Natan ansioso. O coração chorando, Deus de mente. Ele olhou para Jamie fiera na inocência do seu filho. "Não vou deixar ninguém te matar. Não posso querer." Eles se aproximaram da Sinfa, hazy and suffocating. "We are the end of secrets," one of them rasped, voice chillingly calm among the screams. "He belongs with us." "No," Jenna screamed, lunging forward. "He belongs with Nathan." Before Nathan could react, fire surged, leaping from the shadows and engulfing everything in sight. Time slowed. In that flash, he saw the truth. It was not just a fight for Jamie. It was a battle for hope, for family. "We have to fight them," Jenna yelled, determination blazing in her eyes. "No," Nathan shouted back, shaking his head. "We don't fight. We escape." But the figures pressed on, and suddenly, in a surge of adrenaline, Nathan felt something shift within him. A power, a connection he'd never understood. Before, like the flicker of light igniting hope in the darkest moments. He turned to Jamie, releasing his fears, channeling strength. "I need you to trust me, Jamie. Stay close." As the explosion rang out again, Nathan moved through the haze like a protective barrier around his son. He shielded Jamie's small form with his own body, pushing through the chaos. Jenna flanked them, fierce and unyielding, shouting for everyone to follow. "Now," she called to the crowd, who froze in shock. "Move!" And they did. People surged forward, drawn by Jenna's courage, and Nathan felt the tide shift. Erica stood watching, shock painted across her features, but Nathan felt a flicker of sympathy. She was trapped in her choices just as he was. "You have to help us," he called back, but the shadows around her swallowed her voice. The figures lunged as they neared, but Nathan gripped Jamie tighter, forcing his way toward the exit. With each step, they tore through the crowd, laughter and cries echoing in a chorus of survival. Finally, they broke free, the outside air hitting them like a renewed breath. The chaos faded to a distant echo as they escaped into the street, the flames behind them licking the sky. Breathless and alive, Nathan leaned down, meeting Jamie's gaze. "We did it, buddy. We made it out." But as the siren's wail faded, the reality hung over them. What came next? He looked back toward the chaos, towards Jenna's fierce determination, and even Erica's conflicted pain. "I love you, Jamie." He pulled his son close, feeling hot tears welling. "No matter what lies ahead, we face it together." Behind him, calm returned to the crowd, but the questions lingered, shadows still unaddressed. Jamie looked up, a glimmer of hope in his small eyes that Nathan clung to desperately. And as the dawn broke, painting the world anew, Nathan knew this was not the end. It was a new beginning, fraught with uncertainty, yet charged with possibility. He couldn't shake the feeling that the storm wasn't over. The battle for truth lay ahead, and Nathan would not waver. Now, if you want to keep diving into amazing stories like this, you need to subscribe to the channel. Don't wait 1 second longer. Hit that red button so you won't miss the next thrilling chapter. Your support matters. And while you're here, smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help more people discover these incredible tales. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and wild theories about this finale. What's next for Nathan and Jamie? I want to hear it all. And finally, share desse vídeo com a mais de famoso que seja esse dramático. Não conte essa aventura para si. Vamos divulgar. Vocês parte dessa comunidade e somente verdadeiros fãs sabem do que adoram.